happens to be at the draft, that sucker. But that's all right because we have brought back Mr. Matt Rosa to join us for draft night. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing well. I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
It is certainly an exciting evening, of course. The Bengals probably won't be picking till closer to midnight tonight, seeing the fact that they are 240 minutes away if everybody takes the full 10 minutes and the commissioner does his little stroll out to the stage with every single pick. But that's all right. We won't be on for that whole time, but we're going to break down, of course, the picks that happen as they happen. But, of course, we're also going to be talking Bengals, and we're going to be talking about who we think the Bengals should pick, especially as certain people start to go off the board. So, with that being said, we've got to get down to the first topic, and of course, that is the LA Rams' number one pick. Who do you think they go with? Do they go Goff or do they go Wentz?
That's a good question. Everything that I've seen is they're virtually the same exact person, so it's such a toss up. But gun to my head, I'm gonna say that they go golf.
See, I'm thinking that they're gonna go Wentz, but that's just because of everything that's kind of lining up. Of course, everything that's coming out of the media is that they go Goff. But for me, I really see Wentz being at least the safer pick. I think Goff is the more NFL ready starting tomorrow type quarterback. But a year, 2 years down the road, I honestly think that Wentz will be better than Goff. Now, if anybody paid attention to last week, I don't think that Goff and Wentz are the best quarterbacks in the draft long term. I think that's Christian Hackenberg. But we also know that Goff and Wentz are the number one and number two picks. It's just a matter of where they fall. So the big thing coming out in the this week with the number two pick with the Eagles is that Sam Bradford has asked for a trade, but the Eagles are asking for something like 2 second-round picks for Sam Bradford. No offense, is Sam Bradford worth 2 second-round picks?
Absolutely not. I don't know if that was a rhetorical question, but I'm going to jump in and answer that. Absolutely not. I don't know what's going on with that whole thing. I mean, Sam Bradford has been in the league. I don't even know how many years, and has single-handedly destroyed two different franchises. And at some point, or right now, he's the one that's upset, which is weird. So good for him. He's made a lot of money, but he's not an NFL quarterback. He's not with anything. And honestly, if I was him, I'd probably think about retiring.
So, of course, the big thing now coming down is the Bengals are at number 24. There's also the talk of Cleveland and Dallas looking to trade for a second first-round pick getting into the back of the second round. Do you think that the Bengals may be the best candidate for trying to trade back and just leave the first round completely? Or do you think that the Bengals will hold still at 24 at this point?
Well, if you've read my blog, I don't know. I don't think that there's much difference between this draft class, between a first round pick and like a third round pick. So if I had it my way, I would love for them to trade out that pick and stack up in the second and third in the later rounds. Just because play the law of averages here. Draft as many guys as you can and see which ones work out.
No, I think I think that if they get the opportunity and the offer is right for sure, but that's going to be the big question: is what is a team like Cleveland? What is a team like Dallas can offer? Obviously, Cleveland has a little bit more that they can offer because they, of course, did the whole trading back in the first round with the Philadelphia Eagles. So.
Right.
Is that something that maybe a strategy comes into play to possibly get a second round pick or a second first round pick? I'm sorry, by maybe using some of those picks that they picked up as leverage.
Um, I could see that in a perfect world. I think that would obviously be great. I don't I don't know that Cleveland would trade within the division though. For especially with an in-state foe like us.
Yeah, of course, the big thing there is Cincinnati having to trade in conference to allow a team in the conference to improve, which then would leave Dallas. But Dallas, I know, has a couple compensatory. I can't even say the word. Wow, compensatory picks. But do they have enough that they could really offer to the Bengals to even move back into the first round?
Yeah, that would be the Dallas situation. There is a little more intriguing. Not again. This is all fantasy here, so obviously it's going to be a matter of what the offers are going to look like. I if I'm the Bengals front office, which I'm not, but I'm all ears on any options that are coming out to try and stack up these picks.
No, absolutely. So now, of course, say the Bengals hold, which I think we both can agree we think that's going to be most likely the case. The Bengals hold true to the 24th pick. Who do you think is there? Who do you think is the right pick for the Bengals at number 24?
Uh, Again, going back to what I said, I know it's not a sexy pick, but I really like Ryan Kelly, the center out of Alabama. Um, he's a Cincinnati kid, and it's no question that the Russell Bodine has struggled for 2 years now. The center position is the weakest link in an otherwise pretty strong offensive line. It's a very integral part of our offense, and I think our window of opportunity is closing, so we've got to fix these broken links as soon as we can, and I would say Ryan Kelly could be a good option at center for us.
I like Ryan Kelly. I like what he brings to the table. For me, though, I think that we are looking at somebody who can be flexible within the offensive line. We're going to put this on hold for 2 seconds, obviously, because the Rams have made their pick. And they go Jared Goff. So that means that we pretty much know, although they'll probably still take the 10 minutes to make the decision, the Eagles will go Carson Wentz. No surprise there.
Right.
And as I said, Jared Goff, I think, is the obvious choice for the starter today. And as I said, I mean, Carson Wentz has the opportunity, but I am not so high on the FCS coming in and being NFL ready as much as I am somebody who has played in a Division One FBS type team.
Right, yeah. I mean, obviously, good pick for the Rams. They obviously needed a quarterback. They have a ton of weapons on offense, so not too worried about them. We don't play them this season, so my advice: take Jared Goff late in your fantasy draft. He'll be a good sleeper and a bye week quarterback.
Wow, talking fantasy early. All right.
Yeah.
So going back to what we were talking about before with the Bengals, number 24.
Yeah.
As said, I think that they need somebody a little more flexible. If you're going to go offensive line, I'm probably seeing if, number one, if they trade back to the second round, do you think somebody like a Zach Martin from Notre Dame would be there early second round?
It's going to be tough. I would say everybody knows what these first two picks are, and then it's a crapshoot for everything after that. So I'm not even going to try and pretend that I'm going to say who is where, but I will agree with you. I do like flexibility. I said Ryan Kelly because I think he's the best at that position, and just matching square pegs with square holes. That's where we need to really buckle down.
Well, the reason I bring up Zach Martin from Notre Dame is because Zach Martin is probably the most flexible interior offensive lineman in, well, this draft, to be honest. Somebody who can play all three interior lineman positions on the offensive line. Somebody who could move to center very easily, has the experience at center, but also, obviously, if something they like with Russell Bodine comes up, if an injury comes up, and they have Russell Bodine there, he could shift over into an offensive guard position. Of course, they have Jake Fisher, who Jake Fisher can also swing inside as well. Of course, we know Jake Fisher is pairing up pretty well to this team in terms of basically being able to be almost everywhere but running back and wide receiver. We've seen him at tight end. We've seen him at fullback. We've seen him interior line. We've seen him as a offensive tackle. So do the Bengals almost have somebody already there that could basically swing even into center with Jake Fisher?
I think the center position is totally different than any other offensive line. It's the second best position outside of the quarterback as far as needing the physical body to do it and the brains. That's where I'm seeing. You can say that guys have experience at different places at the offensive line, but that turns me off a little bit, just because it speaks to me like a jack of all trades, master of none. I would lean more towards one guy that has this craft, and this is the position he knows. This is the position that he excels at.
So, of course, what everybody is predicting, Bengals are supposedly going to go, at least what you see in most mock drafts, a wide receiver. If they do go wide receiver, and say you are down and you do have both Corey Coleman and Josh Doxson as your options at number 24, who are you going with between those two?
It, I like Doxson a little more, but again, I don't like taking a wide receiver in the first round. I don't see much difference between these guys that are projected to go first round and some of these guys that are projected to go third round. But if I had to choose, I would say Josh Doxson.
So would I. I mean, we all know how both of us feel, of course. If you've been on stripehype.com and you've read, I guess, what was it, Monday's articles, Tuesday's articles that both you and I put out, we both really said how much we thought that there were other needs that could be addressed in this first round other than wide receiver. In fact, you actually went out to say a gentleman by the name of Shepard Sterling being one option, and Jordan, I'm blanking on his last name, who is the second option there? Jordan from UCLA.
Yeah, I wrote about him and now I can't. Yeah, from UCLA, tall kid. This is embarrassing.
I hope he's tall being in the NFL or going to the NFL. No. But you named the kid out of UCLA, and of course you named Shepard Sterling. Which one would you be more comfortable with if they passed in the first round, and where do you think that they should take one of those guys?
Sorry, I had to jump in. Between those two, I would be very okay if our draft looked this way. One, Ryan Kelly in the second round, pick up Sterling Shepard, and then third round, address the defensive tackle. I think Sterling Shepard is going to be the sleeper of this entire draft. He's going to be a guy that's probably going to go second or third round, and he's going to be a day one contributor, and hopefully it's for the Bengals.
So as we knew, Carson Wentz now goes second in the NFL draft.
Right.
Um, what are your? Because of course, as I said, we know my feelings. What are your feelings in terms of Carson Wentz, and how do you think he's going to perform day one? Because at this point, Sam Bradford seems like, no offense, he's almost out. Uh, so how do you feel that he could be day one for the Eagles?
Um, that's tough to tell because nobody knows anything about Doug Peterson. I mean, I don't know what offense he's going to come in and run. I doubt that they're going to have Sam Bradford to be the starter and mentor Wentz, and that doesn't sound like something Bradford wants. He wants to be in it for the long haul. So good for Carson Wentz, but it sounds like he just got drafted to a mess. And I I don't know. I mean, obviously the Eagles have some weapons around them. I think they led the league in drops last year, so they are in a rebuilding year still. So good luck, Carson Wentz.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we saw their supposed franchise running back go to Tennessee. We saw a lot of their uh, big time members leave. Um, I honestly think that Philadelphia is looking at, again, uh, another 3 to 4 years before there's even talk of them being relevant in the division, even though it's arguable that their division is still one of the weaker divisions in the NFC. I think they drop back.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think they drop back. The Giants, of course, if Jason Pierre-Paul does truly come out healthy, like he's saying that he is, that he's getting back to. The fact that I guess he won't have his club hand, he'll actually have some use of that hand that, of course, he injured in the 4th of July accident. And it's just a matter of which Eli Manning
Be as
shows up.
healthy as he wants, he's still not going to have a hand.
He still doesn't have a finger, that's for sure. But it's just going to be a matter of which Eli Manning shows up, which Jay Gruden team shows up, and needless to say, that's going to be the question in that division for sure. But so we're going to see with this next pick really what direction the rest of this draft's going to go for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Any
No, go ahead.
any thoughts on who San Diego's possibly going to go with here?
San Diego's another one of those. They had a bad season last year when they, on paper, have a pretty good team. I wouldn't be surprised if they went someone like Tunsil. Starting to rebuild that offensive line. I'm going to say they go Tunsil.
Do you think they're going to go Laramie Tunsil?
Yeah.
I think you're onto something. Of course, I've sat there and said that I think that they really do need to protect Rivers a lot more if they expect to have any chance to at least be relevant in their division. Of course, their defense really didn't do too much either, so I don't think they could go wrong really even with like the Jalen Ramsey pick. But
yeah,
overall, I'm agreeing with you in terms of I think, and this is what I would do. I think Laramie Tunsil probably is the better pick here. It's just a matter of course, what the team thinks is the immediate need now compared to what can wait, depending on what they're seeing in terms of their, of course, draft board. But they're lucky that they pretty much have everybody but a quarterback to go on their draft board. So, kind of the luxury pick here.
right.
So, going back again, who to you is going to be kind of the outside of course Ryan Kelly? who do you think is going to be the next need? We've talked about you going center here in round one, but uh, you know they don't go center, or say they don't go offensive line, and they don't go wide receiver. What is your next need in terms of what the Bengals need to do or where they should go?
I would love, obviously, somewhere on the defense side of the ball, either defensive tackle, but this is a pretty defensive tackle deep draft, so you might be able to get somebody in later rounds there. If one of the top corners could fall to us at 24, which I don't see happening, but if it does, I would not be upset. Looking to really replenish that defensive backfield that always seems to have to deal with attrition and injuries throughout the year.
Well, and one of the big things that I even said, and I even wrote today, I put up my top 5 players on the Bengals draft board. I had said possibly going, of course, with corner. You have Eli Apple, you have Vernon Hargreaves, which shouldn't fall past, no offense, the top 10, because he is incredibly talented. But, one thing that I like, and I play around with the option, of course, you have safety being an option, you have cornerback being an option. But I like the idea of moving Adam Jones into a safety role, saving him a little bit more compared to the abuse that he would put on himself as a cornerback. Putting him at safety, bringing in a young cornerback. Of course, Dre Kirkpatrick's also in his last year of his, or he's in a contract year, let's say that.
Right.
We hope something gets done because he is very talented. But definitely something that I think that they should address early on, because there really isn't anybody too late in this draft for corners.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of talented players at the defense backfield, but they're few and far between in those draft class.
So the first non-quarterback of the night ends up being from Ohio, the Ohio State linebacker, defensive end. Wow, linebacker. I'm doing good. Defensive end, Joey Bosa, who we almost kind of knew was going to be a top 5 pick. We just didn't know where he was going to go. And he ends up being the future pass rusher for the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, Bosa obviously there's a lot of buzz around him. I had questions about him. I think he's perfect for a 3-4. I thought that he might go to a fall to like a 4-3 defense. But yeah, he'll fit in perfect as an outside linebacker in San Diego.
For sure. I mean, Joey Bosa, one of the big kind of questions behind him came when his younger brother committed to Ohio State, and that was the fact that everybody's saying his younger brother is so much better than Joey Bosa. And so it's kind of interesting to see if his younger brother truly ends up being better than Joey, what his younger brother really is going to do, because Bosa was borderline ridiculous at Ohio State. Outside of that whole Notre Dame debacle where he lowered the crown of his helmet and he got tossed for lowering the crown of his helmet, even though he made no head contact, but the rule's ridiculous, by the way. But very, very talented, good speed off the line, very, very good ball tracking skills. He's a great, basically run tackler. He wraps guys up. Somebody that I think, I don't think San Diego went wrong here. I think that they went, the only other, as I said, the only other 2 people that we almost saw going here, if it wasn't Joey, was Laramie Tunsil or Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
So, very good there. Of course, Dallas has 4 minutes until they have to pick. Otherwise, I'm sure Jacksonville's running up to the stage if they don't pick in that time frame.
Absolutely.
What here, of course, is Dallas's need outside of obviously replacing or at least backing up an injury-prone Tony Romo. What do you think is the top pick here for the
Well,
Dallas Cowboys?
honestly, before this the San Diego pick, I was going to say Joey Bosa to the Cowboys. I think you're going to see back-to-back Buckeye picks here, and they're going to go Zeke Elliott.
Think they're going Zeke?
Yeah.
That almost would be fairly reminiscent of Dallas going after somebody who's actually fairly talented behind Romo, and of course we have not seen as talented of a running back in Dallas since Emmitt Smith. So I can't say that this is that would shock me so much. But so kind of going. Let's go back into to the Bengals here. So we have four major needs for the Bengals, at least that we think that should be addressed in offensive linemen, whether it be a center, whether it be a guard who can swing. Interior offensive lineman is a huge or is a need. Wide receiver, of course, being a huge need, at least to be addressed. Cornerback / safety, defensive back, we'll kind of group them there, and a defensive tackle. Does an offensive line or does an outside linebacker kind of fit into with the needs for the Bengals?
Uh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can't think Carlos Dansby is the long term answer. I think that'll definitely be addressed in this draft. I don't think that's going to be early, but I mean, even Maluga's looking. He's on the latter end of his career, and as much as we all know, I love Perfect. I don't know when his next hit's going to be his last. So you always got to keep the linebacking core, in full health.
And arguably too. I mean, of course, they released AJ Hawk this week, which was kind of news in itself. But also taking a look at the fact that with the release of AJ Hawk, that does leave them also with PJ Dawson to pick up a little more of that slack. Do you see PJ Dawson being part of a really important part of the future of this team, especially with both Carlos Dansby and Ray Maluga kind of being towards the end of their careers?
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that Dawson gets a lot more snaps than Dansby this upcoming season. I think Dansby could be. He'll probably be the first, we'll say, quarter of the season, especially with Perfect being out, linebacker, and then Dawson really just growing into his own and really taking over. That strong side linebacker position.
The other kind of thing that's been a little bit more hush-hush, that there might be some kind of thought process there, is would an interior linebacker be something else that they should look at in this draft? Is somebody who possibly could swing inside and outside somebody they should be looking at? But is inside something they should be addressing too?
I again, this is a luxury of having a consistently good team, where basically we're just looking worst case scenario. So it's not going to surprise me. We all know that Perfect's going to be the middle linebacker as long as he can put on a helmet. So, but obviously, like I said earlier, that he's so injury prone, and the NFL is going to keep an eye on him, and any hit he has can lead to a suspension. So obviously having somebody in reserves there is going to be pretty key to having success in this season.
So we know, of course, that we have Giovanni Bernard for at least one more year at running back. We know that we have Jeremy Hill for at least the next 2 years at running back. Taking a look at some of the later picks that they could go with while we're waiting for the commissioner to come on for the Dallas Cowboys pick, but do you think like a later round running back, maybe somebody who could swing into like a transition between a fullback and running back role, is somebody like that important to this, or do we think that somebody like a Rex Burkhead is a decent solution at this point for that?
I think Rex Burkhead actually is going to have a pretty good season, and coming up because he's proved to have the abilities of what you need actually in a starting running back. Just unfortunately, he has Gio Bernard, who's the elite at that position. Somebody that can come out of the backfield, catch the ball, and obviously is very dangerous between tackles as well. Rex Burkhead's pretty much just a poor man's Gio Bernard. It's nice that we have both of them. I don't really see them addressing the running back position unless it is late in the draft, and looks like the Cowboys did take Zeke Elliott.
They did. So there's 2 Ohio State guys off the board. So Urban Meyer is going to be able to shift again tables. But do you think, and going back to what I said earlier, do you think Zeke is going to be somebody who almost kind of can compete with franchise records set by Emmitt Smith? Can he live up to those expectations that we've seen from first round drafted running backs?
Absolutely, and this is probably going to kill you, but it's pretty well known. I'm not an Ohio State fan at all, but I know a good running back when I see one. And just like I was saying with Gio Bernard and Rex Burkhead, Zeke Elliott fits the exact mold of what you need in an NFL quarterback. I'm sorry, NFL running back in today's NFL, and I will take him against the field being offensive rookie of the year next year.
No, and of course, we're more bonded by the Bengals than we are anything else. So I won't hold it against you. We're not talking like it's Dylan here. No, I'm kidding, Dylan. But so I like Zeke. I think he's very talented. Of course, he did remind me at Ohio State a lot of a very hard-nosed running back. Of course, we haven't seen somebody really of that caliber since Ohio State's last running back that won the Heisman Trophy, and of course, former Tennessee Titan / Houston Oiler. And so, we're really seeing kind of one of the best. The other good one that will probably come off the board at some point is Alabama's running back. I'm going to blank on his name right now just because I'm blanking on everybody's. But the one thing I think that Zeke does very well is he has great open field speed. He knows how to kind of lower his body and bust through the offense or the kind of the trenches there and create space for himself. Good outside speed. If he gets the outside, he's very dangerous. So definitely somebody I think Dallas is going to be extremely happy with this pick. And of course, he changed his shirt. That's no fair. I love the cut shirt that he was wearing during the red carpet. That disappoints me. But so and I'm going back to the running back. I'm going to agree with you there. I think they have Burkhead, who's a very good at least third option. Say if one of the guys gets hurt there, of course they're going to use him in almost a flex type position out to wide receiver as well, and do a lot more stuff with him. As Jacksonville pick comes in while they're, of course, on commercial break, at least NFL Network is. I like I like the Bengals situation there at running back. I don't think they should change it or at least disrupt it. You can find an undrafted free agent there to kind of go towards the practice team who might have a future, especially if injury does come into play. But for the most part, I'm fairly satisfied where they're at that position. So with that being said, too, with Jake Fisher being a very flexible guy, interior, exterior type offensive lineman, could they go after a mid to late round um, offensive tackle as well, or is that something that you think that they're going to kind of avoid because they made 2 picks last year, especially the first 2 rounds of offensive tackle?
Uh, that is a good question. If you listen to Marvin Lewis make the rounds on the draft talk, he gives his typical Marvin Lewis answers, where he's very cryptic and coy. But if you listen, I think he's hinted that I think they are going to go offensive line. He said that they're going to continue drafting the best player, not necessarily for the position, because that's what's worked out for them, obviously, in the past couple of years. And he then mentioned that this draft seems like the best players are on the offensive line. And he said, he thinks that the offensive line in this draft class is better than last draft class, obviously, where we took, our 2 linemen for the first 2 picks. So that's not going to surprise me if they go offensive tackle. Then it's not going to surprise me in the least bit.
So, defensive end, it seems like, at least for the most part, they have fairly set right now. As we're kind of breaking down position by position in terms of what we think expectation-wise the Bengals should go after. Of course, Marcus Hunt hasn't lived up to his expectations there. We saw kind of almost 2 guys move on, free agency-wise. Is defensive end one thing that they probably should get at least a little deeper in? Or is defensive end, again, one of those that you just shouldn't be so concerned with?
Absolutely. It's been the Marcus Hunt project has been a failure. Let's just go ahead and call it what it is. It's time to go the life past Marcus Hunt. He was fun for Hard Knocks, and that was about it. It's obviously probably one of the few busts that I can think of in the most recent years in the draft. But yeah, I would love to see them address the defensive end position, especially because obviously the studs Dunlap and Michael Johnson can't be playing 75 snaps.
So, of course, Jacksonville goes with the best player on the board, probably and arguably one of the best players in this year's draft. They go Jalen Ramsey out of Florida State. Of course, the last very solid corner to come out of Florida State is an NFL Network analyst. That would be Mr. Deion Sanders. Do you see a little bit of kind of Deion style in Jalen Ramsey, or do you see more of no offense, somebody a little bit more willing to take a hit?
Honestly, I think he's just an all-around great corner. I think you can obviously see him both. Watching his highlights now, he's a guy that'll lower his shoulder pads and get in there and make a stick, and he's a guy that has great closing speed. So this is a great pick, I think, for Jacksonville, who in the last 3 years, they're no slouch anymore. Jacksonville's they're going to be a good team.
So, of course, the next pick is going to be is going to impact the Bengals, and that's because it belongs to the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens were very, very decimated in injury this year. and we didn't see much depth from them at any position, other than, of course, the quarterback that they ended up getting um, uh, into that place. I believe it was Ryan Mallett, if I'm not mistaken, because he was there for such a
Right.
short period of time. But do you think that this team, this at least this Ravens team, do you think that they need to address more depth at this point, going into the draft, or do you think this is something that they really need to go out and get somebody, whether it be a linebacker or somebody who can start day one?
I think they not only do they have to address depth, but Baltimore is sneaky in a rebuilding phase themselves. I'm gonna say that they are. I think they're gonna go with Tunsil here, and try and keep Flacco upright this season, and then shore up that offensive line a little bit more.
I like the fact, and they definitely need depth because we saw injuries all over the place last year, and some of these guys coming back are still a little older, and so they need to bring in kind of do what the Bengals and Steelers have really been doing, and that's bringing guys in who maybe aren't starting year one. Of course, when you're talking about the sixth pick overall, it almost has to be a starter, but. They really need to start addressing more of the guys who are really going to be the future for this organization, because at the end of the day, I think overall this team has the ability to be dangerous in this division again, but it's going to take the future. It's not going to take the guys that are there now, other than maybe a Joe Flacco, because Steve Smith Sr. is not the answer. In fact, he was actually supposed to be gone, if I remember correctly,
Yeah,
and
he
retired.
announced his retirement, and then he's coming back.
And a lot of that had to do with my feeling is with injury.
Exactly.
And so he doesn't want to go out with the injury being the last thing everybody knows him as. Of course, Baltimore has 2 minutes to pick, but with kind of how the Bengals pick, do you think that, because of course the only team behind them picking at this point in the division is the Steelers, and the Steelers have the same mentality as the Bengals, or at least the Bengals adopted the mentality from the Steelers, whoever started it first. Do you think the Bengals should take a look at who the Browns and the Baltimore Ravens are drafting, and making a move in terms of almost kind of like a countering type thing?
I don't think. Honestly, I don't think that there is a pick that happens anywhere that's going to necessarily affect the way the Bengals pick. I think the Bengals are set in their ways. They've pretty much proven that. I trust what their board looks like. Just obviously they do a good job of keeping their cards close to their chest and not really letting anybody see what that looks like. So yeah, I don't see them switching anything just because the Steelers pick somebody or whoever Baltimore picks here. I think they're going to stick to their guns and just take who they believe is going to be the best player for them.
So, of course, we haven't talked to you, and kind of bridging a little bit of time here. We haven't talked to you since, of course, the schedule came out for the Bengals. So I'm going to ask you now, while we're waiting for the pick, what is your thoughts on how the Bengals will finish the 2016 season, looking at the team now and looking at what their schedule looks like?
I'm going to say 11-5. Let me see here. I'm gonna actually bring up the schedule here. I obviously don't like going to Foxborough. That's always tough.
Especially after
I
being
think we'll
suspended for
split
4
one
games.
with the Steelers here.
Yep.
And say this, but playing in New York on the 15th anniversary of 9/11, that place is going to be special. There's going to be just an amazing atmosphere there that I don't know if the Bengals can handle. So, that's an iffy one with them. They play at Ronnie Stanley, offensive tackle. Sorry, that caught me off there. Playing at Dallas is another one. And then, I could see them just taking a loss, like in week 17, because I think we'll have the playoffs pretty much already set at that point.
That's a hope, at least.
Exactly.
So, of course, as you said, Ronnie Stanley from Notre Dame, offensive tackle, going to Baltimore. I'm not sure I'm too high on this pick. Not to say that Ronnie Stanley isn't a talented player at all. I just feel like they had a few more needs that they should have addressed than offensive tackle. Maybe I'm nuts, but I don't know. Like, again, great player. I think that they got a good player. I just don't think that it's the right fit for the Ravens, especially in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree. Like I said, I thought they would go Tunsil. They go with, the other tackle here in Stanley. I think that Baltimore is trying to get back to just ground and pound AFC North football. I think that's what Harbaugh wants to do, even though they have the big arm in Joe Flacco. I think they want to try and stuff it down people's throats and then try and go over the top with Flacco's arm and usually sign Mike Wallace. So they're trying to stir up that offensive line and, like I said, give Flacco some time here to take a 5-step drop and unload to their weapons downfield.
Now, one thing I want to visit, because I know you just talked about Laramie Tunsil and taking a look at, Stanley going before him. Do you think, especially with this pending now litigation brought by his stepfather, no offense, I think his stepfather is scum for doing it now, especially after charges were dropped last year. But of course, do you think some character issues came up, especially with the lawsuit that his stepfather brought into play? With the alleged assault?
I would say absolutely. I think that's nobody turns away from that anymore. Nobody wants that to deal with that PR on their team. So I'm not going to be surprised if that's taking a big factor in him dropping, and he might end up like Freddie Quinn that year. Everybody expected him to be top 10, and and they're tweeting out pictures of Larry Tunsil smoking weed from a bowl now. So that is, he's probably not doing so well right now.
Well, I do have to give Yahoo Sports some credit here with this tweet that they put out, and this is for on behalf of like Ezekiel Elliott. They said Dallas drafts the cream of the crop top. I gotta give them credit for the play on words. So just seeing that, I had to play. And so we're gonna get one more pick in, of course, with the San Francisco 49ers before we get off. So we're gonna play a little bit of the picking up or putting down, and we're gonna do this, of course, draft edition. On behalf of this lovely NFL draft that we get to enjoy this evening. So picking up or putting down. The Steelers ignore their immediate need and draft somebody other than a defensive back. Are you picking that up or are you putting that down?
I'm sorry. Could you ask that again?
So, Steelers have been known to go, of course, best player on the board, but they have an extreme immediate need, and that is defensive back, whether it be a safety or a corner. Picking up or putting down. The Steelers ignore the fact that they need a defensive back that bad, and they still pick somebody other than a defensive back.
I'm putting that down. But again, the only way I can see that switching is if these other top three corners go in the next 20 picks or so, which could happen. But I think they address that cornerback position hands down.
Okay. So picking up or putting down, obviously there's been talk of Paxton Lynch with some stress fractures or what they're calling it
Right.
in the knee. Picking up or putting down, Paxton Lynch drops out of the first round.
I'm putting that down too. I think Paxton Lynch will end up going late. I don't necessarily know where, but he's not escaping the first round, so he's going to get picked up.
So I'm going to go back. By the way, I'm picking up the fact that the Steelers ignore defensive back at this point. I'm probably going to be wrong. I'm hoping I'm right though. These guys always go, oh, who's the best player on the board? And if somebody's there like an A'Shawn Robbins, or if somebody's there like say a Laramie Tunsil at this point, no offense to anybody, but I don't see Kevin Colbert holding on to a corner compared to going with just the best guy on the board with that. In terms of Paxton Lynch dropping out, I'm putting that down. I think he's going, and I'm going to actually say I think he might go to the Broncos at this point.
That's who I would guess. I could see Cardinals taking a look at him if he goes that deep, and just because of the Browns, I'm not going to be surprised if the Browns fix. So there's that.
Well, there's not a shocker. Chip Kelly going with, Oregon. DeForest Buckner is headed to San Francisco to join none other than the former Oregon Ducks coach, Chip Kelly. Shocker?
Yeah. Partly shocker. So the 49ers did not use one of their 30 visits on Buckner. But everybody thought that was a little shocker about that. But then Chip Kelly said, why would I waste one of my visits on a player that I already know everything about? So really nobody's surprised here. It's the guy that Chip Kelly was pretty high on. The guy's massive, so he's got that high motor. Might be pretty successful out there in San Fran.
Now, obviously on that side of the ball, DeForest Buckner doesn't have to worry about the high tempo offense that Chip Kelly runs. But I don't know if you're seeing this, but we have a trade. We have a trade.
Browns trade with Titans. Okay.
I'm almost kind of speechless.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm waiting for the details of this
well,
pick to come out.
Rich Eisen is actually saying that he thinks it might be Tunsil here.
That would be that would make sense for Tennessee here, but obviously interested to see what Hugh Jackson's gonna have cooking there with the draft picks that he's stacking up.
So Titans acquire the 8th overall pick from the Browns. We don't know, I guess, for what much here, but I actually thought the Titans should go Laramie Tunsil at pick 1 anyway, because they need somebody to protect Marcus Mariota.
Absolutely.
So if this is truly happening the way that people are thinking it is, I'm actually going to sit there and say Malarkey may be in an organization that actually has some brains here.
Yeah. I feel like we've said that before. We've gone down that road. So,
they got a great running back, and they got him fairly cheap.
Yeah.
So they had some brains there. So by the way, I had another question, but that's totally gone out the window now.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, offensive line would would have to be the pick here, wouldn't you think?
I mean, I can't see them. It's either that, maybe receiver. I don't know if I was reaching. I would put money on Tunsil here. I think I've done that 3 times already, though. So we'll see.
I'd say, is there any other offensive tackle that would go here? I guess we're gonna find out in a matter of like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So. Jack Conklin from Michigan State. That isn't a terrible pick.
No.
I like Jack Conklin a lot.
I think that really goes back to really answer the question now that there's obviously a lot of questions on Tunsil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's fallen from projected number 1 overall pick for a while there. Before all the trades happened, not even the number 1 tackle being taken. So obviously a lot of questions arising on this character.
The Titans actually didn't give up too much. They gave up a 3rd round pick, and then they gave up a pick next year. And they're obviously their 1st round pick to move up. And they actually got, I think it said, the 6th round pick back. So not too terrible there. And they get a guy who has been one of the better offensive tackles in the Big Ten. I mean, he protected Connor Cook. They won a Big Ten title. So definitely somebody that, in all honesty, is a very talented and very solid offensive lineman there. Of course, I don't think it was really too much of his fault for the Alabama loss, but definitely like the pick there, and so don't blame them at all, especially with what little they gave up to move up for that pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, before we get any more trades, and before we get any more picks, the last question for picking up or putting down, and that is, Ohio State will get, obviously already having 2 gone, will get 6 guys picked in the first round, and Urban Meyer will be shedding tears because he has to replace all 6 guys. Are you picking up or putting down?
6 is a lot. I'm gonna put that down. I think they'll definitely have 8 guys get drafted in these next couple of days. I don't see all first round though.
They're definitely going to have. Unless something swings the wrong way, I definitely see them having 5. 6 is a little bit of a stretch. That's why I didn't say 5 because I think 6 is one of those that it's kind of, it could happen. Do I think it is going to happen? Unless all of a sudden Michael Thomas or some weird revolution, Braxton Miller, really get bumped up there. Obviously, Eli Apple, Von Bell are 2 big things. Darren Lee also. Those are kind of the 5 that I'm thinking, obviously, on top of Joey Bosa and Zeke. But I think they're kind of done at that. But still, 5 guys out of 1 program, national champions last year, or I shouldn't say last year, in 2014, 2015. Definitely a good, solid draft pick. And, of course, since they moved up and Jack Conklin, and because we asked another question, there's another trade. So we get to end our night on finding out who traded with Tampa Bay and who they moved up to the 9th pick to get.
Yeah, this is why I love draft night. You know, this is it's not going to stop. It started 2 weeks ago and it's continuing live. So this is awesome.
So, of course, the big question here is who traded with Tampa Bay to get to the number 9 pick. Oh, there we go, Chicago. Chicago just jumped New York Jets, so obviously they have a feeling either Tampa Bay or New York Jets were going to go get their guy. So, who do you think Chicago would move up to get here?
That is a good question. Who's off the board so far? I mean, there's 3 offensive tackles, obviously 2 quarterbacks. Yeah, I know that the Bears were pretty verbal in being infatuated with Zeke Elliott. Obviously, he's off the board. I don't know where they have another need. I mean, Jalen Ramsey maybe.
Ramsey's gone. Ramsey went to Ramsey went to Jacksonville.
Oh yeah.
I'm kind of thinking, and this is a hunch, and maybe it's totally off base, but maybe a Miles Jack.
Yeah. I agree.
Which, of course, New York Giants needed a solid linebacker there too, so that may be their angle. Or, as they're saying, maybe Laramie Tunsil falling to number 9 and making sure he doesn't fall any further, or that they don't have to risk him falling any further. We're about to find out.
This Tunsil saga has already got me intrigued. I almost want him to keep falling and see if the Browns take him at 15. See if they can deal with that again.
Of course, we're going with Walter Payton. A little tribute to him. Of course, the what did they have to give up? Their 4th round pick?
What's that?
What did Chicago give up? Their 4th-round pick?
I don't know. I can't. I don't have my volume up here, and I'm watching on ESPN. They're not doing a great job of explaining these trades.
I'm trying to. I have no clue. Anquan Bolden. I knew he was. He's important to that award, and Anquan Bolden's a good guy. So we're kind of waiting here. If anybody got this far in the podcast, we're waiting to find out who Chicago actually picked.
I've got a quick question.
Yeah.
Putting down for you.
Okay.
Do you think the Bengals deal McCarron in the next 3 to 4 days after this draft?
I'm putting it down. Granted, I know what Mike Brown said, and that is that every player is basically tradable for the right price.
Mm-hmm.
However, I personally think that he is just that valuable to this team as a backup. And even possibly, depending on what happens with Andy Dalton, future starter.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I agree with you, but I'm not going to be surprised if in the next 3 to 4 days the phones are ringing in Bengals front office.
He's doing a lot of sucking up to Chicago.
They were booing him every time he walked out. He's got to try something.
Leonard Floyd. So it was linebacker. It wasn't Miles Jack. I was on to something, but it was the other linebacker, Leonard Floyd from the University of Georgia. He is a big boy, at least height-wise. 6'5". Not so big in terms of like weight-wise. He's only 244 pounds. But he is definitely a tall boy. Good arm length. He does have good tracking skills for the ball. At least in terms of the run game. I don't know. I like the way he gets off the line. I think he's got some decent speed. Again, I'm not gonna sit there and say it was a bad pick. I think the other way they could have gone would have been Miles Jack, but definitely a solid pick here, and definitely meets a need. Obviously, with saying that Miles Jack was in play here.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like you said, he's a long guy, 6'6". When you play Aaron Rodgers twice a year, you gotta try and do something, get some arms up in his face.
Oh, as we saw last year too, Teddy Bridgewater in Minnesota.
Yeah, very true.
So obviously Calvin Johnson's gone, so he doesn't have to track him, but he will have to somewhat track a former Bengal up there in terms of Marvin Jones, although he's going to play more of obviously a slot type receiver. He's going to try to prove that he's number one over Golden up there, but still somebody who he plays against 3 very good quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford's definitely no slouch when he has weapons. We talked about Teddy Bridgewater and what he did last year. Of course, they won the division finally somebody winning the division other than the Packers, and of course Aaron Rodgers. So as I said, need they got, and good for them. So any more questions?
I'm fresh out.
All right. So Matt, it was again a pleasure. You did a great job. Thank you for taking Tim's spot on a night, of course, biggest night in the off season in the NFL, even bigger than the first day of free agency. So thank you for joining us. Of course, this has been Men in Stripes, presented by Stripe Hype. We are on weekly. We may have to do a few more of these live casts, but we need to get definitely more people in the door. Catch us on YouTube, of course. Men in Stripes is the page name. Catch us on Twitter, Men in Stripes SH. Email us, meninstripessh@gmail.com. Also, visit our website, stripehype.com. Read what the guys have written. Definitely need to get somebody to write a fourth article so that they can win some random prize that I'm soon going to choose. Because right now everybody is sitting at 3 or below. Matt. No, Matt's been doing a great job for us. Also, Tim, of course, Tim is out in Chicago covering, so definitely, check out all the guys, what they've written. Check out all of them on Twitter. We are on Facebook as well. Stripe Hype is the page name. Subscribe, like, whatever you want to do. Just don't curse at us and tell us we're terrible, terrible people because we're fans like you. So with that, thank you again, Matt, for joining us on this awesome day, which is draft day. And for everybody out there in Who Dey Nation, Who Dey!